Welcome everyone. Today I have Sarah Spiky with me today as a very significant speaker, and I'm so grateful and honored to have her in this show, Conquer the Mio Demon. So welcome, Sarah. Share a little bit about who you are so the audience can get a little bit feelings about who you are.
Well, first and foremost, Tanya, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be a part of your event, and we're going to have so much fun in this conversation. A little bit about me. Well, as yourself and your audience, I'm a very multidimensional being, and there's so many identities that I could identify myself with. On top of the head, I'm first and foremost, I'm a mom to two glorious beings. I'm a wife in a multicultural marriage. I'm an immigrant from Europe living in New York now, which used to be one of my dreams as a kid. Former elite athlete, a scholar, and as of more recently, well, past 10 years or so, business owner, especially specializing in helping individuals simplify and harmonize their lives. And that journey itself has brought me from being on the back end of people's businesses to now really being the go-to person as their mentor, as their life coach, as a mystique. And yeah, the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. So why did I choose Sarah to be on this summit? When I was on Sarah's homepage, that's called Make Your Life Your Legacy. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, perfect. It was when I was going on to read about who Sarah was, I was like reading down, and she was sharing a personal story about herself. She's come from Slovenia. Is that correct saying on English?
Yeah, yes.
Right. So she had been all around. So she's mother language is not English. So then I can really relate to her because my mother language is not English. Is Danish. I come from Denmark. So when you share about her story on her about site on her webpage, I get the feeling about you are very connected to her, that gut feeling in her body. I always follow her gut feeling to where is the next step in her life, and I will really see myself in that. Like when she go as she's elite in basketball, like you, was this the correct? Like you are former internet elite in for basketball. She come to Brooklyn, was it that Brooklyn? Yeah.
Yep.
And she could not speak English. I was like, what? Did she go to USA and did not speak English? Like,
you have to pass the test.
I was like, oh my God, that is a brave woman. And I could see myself in that when I took to Malaysia for the first time. I was not good to speak English either. I was like, oh, that is curious. I was so curious about her. And she just stepped in to be a leader like every time and really create who she was in like gut feeling, and that's so to where she is today. And she will share more about her business end of this show, so please stay tuned, and she will share about like what she's working with in like creating your legacy. That is very interesting. That's why I was taking Sarah on this show. So the first question, I will read a little bit on here. Sorry guys, I have people beside me. So what is the darkest challenge you have faced in your life?
I love that question. And when I was so grateful that she gave me the grace of being able to prepare for this conversation a little bit, because this question alone has so many different layers. And looking back, I don't think there was one specific challenge. I think as so many of us are going through life, we are walking on this journey, we're navigating it, sometimes simply following the checklist that has been given to us by society. Sometimes we dare to rebel and say, I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to trust my gut instinct. And usually what happens is that once we either stay and try to fulfill somebody else's expectations, we're going to find ourselves in the space where it's like, this is not your life. And no matter how much you are working, doing everything by the book is just not going anywhere, and you're miserable and you're angry and you're wondering what the heck, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? On the other hand, when you dare to step out of the boxes and break the shackles of cultural and generational programming, when you dare to strip down all the layers of the belief systems that have been put onto you, you're going to find yourself in a space that's going to be extremely uncomfortable, that's going to be scary, that's going to be lonely, and it's going to test you in more than one way. And sometimes, you know, the conventional wisdom would say, oh, with this resistance coming up and with these challenges coming up, it's a sign that this is not for you. Just go back on the safe path. But when you take a look from a higher perspective, it's like, well, what is all of this is just testing my commitment, how committed I am to fulfilling the mission that I have been given. And as life has it, you know, as we are tumbling around before we can actually walk and run and then ultimately hopefully take off and fly, there's going to be more than one event like this. You know, there's times like, oh, I finally have it figured out. Oh, wait, no, I don't. And the whole process starts again because there's new level. It's new level, new devil, as they say it in English. So looking back on my own journey, one of the greatest hooks that has been pulling me back for a long time was this notion that I was to be this strong and independent and fierce woman. I hail from a lineage of extremely strong women who have lived ahead of their times, and some of them have paid for that with their lives. Some have suffered greatly. So it was always made known to me that I ought to always be self-sustained, never rely on anybody. So when after my second daughter was born, I was running a business. My husband and I had this beautiful home. The life was just a dream. And everything fell apart. I mean, I got diagnosed with postpartum depression and was taken to ER twice with severe burnout. Once was not enough because I was this tough woman. I had to prove it. But it was this inability to receive support, not just receive it, but ask for it in the first place. And I was not able to see the fact that my husband has been there for me every step of the way, every single day, having my back in every possible way you can imagine. But every act of support and kindness to me was like stabbing me into the same wound and twisting the knife just a little bit more each time. It wasn't until I was talking to one of my mentors, which is why I always advocate for, not only as an athlete, you always have a coach, but even as an individual, I always have coaches or mentors by my side because you can't see what you don't know is there. And one day, you know, I was working with one who was never questioned my narrative, never questioned where I was coming from, never dared me to turn the coin around and see it from the other side. And I was willing to walk away, you know, from everything. And I turned around, I was like, whoa, every single person in the circle of this particular coach walked away. What if that is not my legacy? What if that is not how this story ends? So as I was working with somebody else, she actually sat me down. I was like, how can you be so selfish? I was like, oh, me? What? No, me selfish. I'm stretching myself so thin. You know, I was in total victim mood. And she was like, no, you're so selfish. You are so blind. You cannot even see all that this guy has done for you, has been there with you. And I was like, shit.
Oh my God. Like,
exactly. But it was such an interesting process then because I was in so much self-inflicted pain that it affected our dynamic. You know, when you put on all this armor, and make yourself unavailable, what it actually created was, instead of staying in my vertical space, it inflated like a big balloon, and there was no room for anybody else around it. He was like leaning backwards, like, okay, fine. And the more I was like, where is my man? The more my balloon inflated, the less space he had. So of course everything was, you know, out of balance, and it was crazy. So this process of deflating my balloon, and again, falling in love with him over and over and over again on a very conscious level, remembering how it used to feel like, and remembering that, you know, deep down inside of me, and remembering why I fell in love with him in the first place, remembering why he has always meant so much to me in the first place, and remembering who I was in the depths of my soul before I was being told that I was too much, before I was told that I was not enough, and all of those things, right? I was like, oh, yeah, I remember, and I want it, and I liked it, and I can actually have it. So that was, yeah, again, completion on a lot of identities and transforming, and again, tumbling around and things falling apart before they could be recalibrated and regathered and rebuilt again.
So what I'm here for you, and thank you for asking and I answer the question. So what I'm here for you, sometime in life, you as me, was also there, like I was on a path. I need to like crumble food, like on the floor, like what you call a game, you're just throwing out, and you need to put the pieces together to get a beautiful picture. My life was like that. I need to be like all around the floor and outside the window, and like need to find all the pieces before I can really get in my core to really find like who is Tanja Andersen, like who is me. Some people need to like go like totally down, like break down, and some people just need to like sniff the ground and come up again. And it's so beautiful when you're sharing it. I get the picture of you've grown up to be a so beautiful flowers through your pain, like through your struggling. We are a stronger person. We get so much, like the balloon is getting bigger, because my balloon, as I was laughing to you, I was laughing about myself, because oh my God, I was there like my way, the highway, like I can everything, and no one should take a responsibility of my life because it's just me and can do anything. I was like, oh my God, that is just bullshit. Because we need other, like a mentor that can show us like the mirror of our other face to say, you are selfish. Like, what? No. Yes, you are selfish. Like, what? I did not know that about myself. So it's so important to have a mentor. I have that since 2014, and it's so important because the person shows things side of ourselves we can see. So that is so beautiful. I think also the answer like some of the other questions. So we just like take a little bit the other question, you can answer the same or something else on it. So how did you handle that dark challenge you are facing in your life to turn around to something powerful?
So first and foremost, I want to apologize for the noise outside.
No, I did not hear something.
Okay, good. Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, of course it's noisy outside because we're having this amazing conversation. Of course. So you know, I am always a proponent of the belief that whatever is given to us, it never happens to us, it happens for us. Now, sometimes we're going to be given the same lesson and we're going to stumble over the same thing until we learn to actually, you know what, I'm walking. This is such an interesting illustration that one of my friends shared with me a long time ago. It's like, here I am walking down the street and I fall in a hole. And I get up the next day, I walk down the same street and I fall in a hole. And then the fifth time around, I was like, okay, maybe I should go on the other side of the street. Until I was like, why would I even walk down this street? I'll just take a different route, you know? So some of the lessons, some of the tools, I wasn't even sure what I needed. I just knew that this was not the place that felt good. And this was not the place that I wanted to be in. And even coming to that point was a process, because sometimes, you know, it just felt comfortable to be the victim in a way, because I got attention and I got a reassurance, and everybody was cheering me on and reminding me of how powerful I was and how strong I was, and it felt good to hear all this praise. But when things just wouldn't move anywhere, I was like, well, I guess I need to roll up my sleeves one more time and actually do the work. So I started with healing. Actually, I reached out to one of my healers in Slovenia. I explained what was going on, and she's like, yeah, let me see what I can do. My little ones were still little. One was a few months old, the other one was around 3. Um, and I remember she said, you know, I'm going to start with the sessions. This is what I see. I'll see where I can access your energy and we'll get started. I can't promise you exactly what time, but we'll get there. I was like, okay. You know, didn't think twice about it. So it was afternoon and the girls were playing, and all of a sudden I felt like train hit me. And I was like, I need to lay down. Now I can't take a nap because that would be irresponsible with 2 little ones still wide awake and playing. But I just needed to lay down. And for about an hour or so, I felt so odd, exhausted, lack of focus. I was like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, like, oh, that was weird. I don't know what it was, but I'm fine. And then an email came through and it was my healer. She's like, yeah, I just did the first session and it was a mess. You might have felt something. I was like, you think? So that was a couple of, you know, continuously doing the healing work for the next couple of years. And then it was the mindset piece, because I found myself questioning my capabilities. I found myself looking for permission elsewhere to follow my nudges, my intuition, what I knew needed to happen, but there was no external evidence. There was no point of reference to say, listen, you know, and this is how we're going to measure it. It's like, okay, how do I find the strength to actually stand up for what I know is right? So that's how I got on a path of mindset work, which was so different from the mindset of an elite athlete. Because as an elite athlete, I was always trained to, you know, you focus on one thing and you eliminate all the distractions and you're focused and you're in pain, you are still showing up for play. No, nothing else matters. We're gonna take care of your injury just so you can show up at the gym the next day. What's gonna happen in the long term? Who cares? Just as long as you can show up, you know, for the next day. But here it was like, wow, I needed to learn how to get rid of this exterior. I had to unlearn pretty much everything I had known about myself. And it was a journey of, you know, going from this very strategic, very powerful woman who would go through the wall, all the way to the other side of, I'll just light up some candles and I'm gonna have some essential oils and I'm gonna sit in a corner, I'm gonna visualize and meditate and everything's gonna be perfect. I was like, that's not me either. And nothing's happening. So, you know, combining the two, and then, you know, the tangible, the intangible, the practical and tactical with the, I don't even know how you want to call it, spiritual based. Ultimately, it was this pendulum found its own equilibrium that was just mine. So yeah, from there, I was like, wow, I didn't even realize how natural all of that came to me, because as I was helping myself and healing myself and readjusting my life, so were the people who kept coming to me for help. And they always tend to be like 2 to 3 steps behind me. So it was just enough for me to still be able to guide them. So through that process, it was like, okay, this has worked on me. They are in a different situation. what else is in my toolbox that I can now put and help them with? Because one thing that I have learned is like, just because something works for me is not going to work for you. And just I have done this one thing one time doesn't make me an expert to teach it to you, because your story is different, your background is different. But that's a whole conversation for another time. But
I like you on that point to sharing about that, because I've experienced so many people in my life when I was like in my past and seek for advice, go to a lot of mentor, healer, you name it. And there are so many people that give me advice on something they have not have success with life and not really practice. And I was like, how can you support me in this when you have not tried to like look inside yourself and done it and look you bullshit in your eyes? And that was also one of the things I experienced with you on your homepage, was you have done the homework, like you have done the inside work. And that is so much beautiful, because on this point, when we really have done the things inside, like also, you know, like we do have, we can be there for someone else so they can have what we have right now. So that's just so beautiful. You learned that through your darkness.
Yeah, I think there's this fine line, because if you look, the Olympics are just happening in Tokyo right now. So if we just stick with that for a second, there's a lot of coaches who are coaching Olympic athletes who have never competed in the Olympics themselves, but they have the knowledge and they have the skill and they have the ability to coach. Then you have those who have done everything they could possibly have done and accomplished, who have no capacity, no ability, no skill to show somebody else how to do the same thing. But I do believe that, especially in the personal development, that there's this combination of skill and talent, and then also the layer of understanding you can only acquire when you have gone through the same fire.
Yeah.
You have the empathy, you have the depth of understanding of what it feels like. It's with, you know, all these years after giving birth, I still struggle with weight. And it has been something that has kept me out of the gym, because how could a professional elite athlete, I mean, former elite athlete, now be 100 pounds overweight? Look at her, you know, shame and blame and guilt. And the last thing I wanted to do was to go to the gym and be around those six-pack, testosterone, you know, dudes. Exactly. But what my issue was also with hiring coaches, like none of them understood what it takes when you are overweight and you used to be able to perform and you can't now. And they did not understand this mental game of what it takes to get out of the bed and motivate yourself to actually go try one more time, and the next day, and the next day, when you used to be able to run 10 miles for breakfast. And now at 500 meters, you're like, I need an oxygen mask, and my knees are gonna fall off.
Oh my God, so true.
So yeah, it's art and science all form into one. And I, you know, I used to be the one who would first one to admit, it's like, if you don't have the kids, don't talk to me about parenting. If you're not married, don't talk to me about relationships. But sometimes there are some, you know, golden nuggets in that fresh perspective, and from somebody who has absolutely no scars, no expectations, and they can offer something so blunt and so obvious. They're like, oh, all right then.
that is so true. Like, I believe we all have some gift to give, and we have like the things we hear is a message from someone, and it's our duty to really feel in our body, is this a message I need, or I just say thank you so much for the message, if that give meaning. I'm still on that path, to be honest, to really know like what can people give me, like how can people support me when I'm really in my dark day, like a victim mode, and just like it's so sad for me this year.
And sometimes the only thing that a person can do is just be there with you, say nothing,
Oh
do
yeah, true.
nothing, and literally just hold the space for you to fall apart
Yeah.
and have a
Oh,
safe
so true.
environment without any judgment to then put yourself back together.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. For me, I'm still in the journey to really figure out, like, when I go to a person, like, talk about anger, because in my past I have anger issues, and I grown up with a dad that hit me like up in the head, and I've been in violence relationship. So the stand in my card, as you also talked about at the beginning, in my card I stand like when I'm really pushed into the corner, my reaction will be hitting, because I'm grown up with that, and my back in my mind was believing it's okay to hit. I know it's not okay to hit, but the little girl in me was just like, I could not do something, like I was like locked up. So the things I did was the things I learned from my father was that, and I get more angry because there's a long story. So I go for green to red, so I don't have this like in between, like, is this a smart thing to do? So I was just reacting. I hit my ex-boyfriend for 3 years ago. When I go to people and talk about that with my angry issues, because I was angry, I said like, I get dark, like I close to see demons out of the ground that's coming in me, that just want to kill me. I was like in so dark moment. When I shared that experience with people, my angry was so big. People definitely not deal with the anger, or have like there's different kind of state of anger. So I go with people that not have tried to hit. They will just like saying to me, Tanya, you just need to breathe. That's like, for me, I have not the space right now to breathe. I'm reacting just like when I feel it, I'm reacting. So I'm still in that process to really see when people have not, there's just like example, when people have not really tried that experience in their own body, how can they support me when I'm really in that moment? If that can mean it, just like example from my past. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense in what you're saying.
It absolutely does. And even the anger, it comes in stages, as you probably know. It's the safer emotion than sadness is. So I have noticed with my little one, not to compare, but for a time she was really angry and would be screaming and throwing temper tantrums. And I was like, what does she need? And she was 2 years. She didn't even have the capacity to express, much less label her emotions. So one day I sat down with her. I was like, how are you feeling? What's going on? And then we just had a chat. And ultimately what she said is just like, I just miss daddy when he's at work, because my husband works crazy hours, so she really didn't get to see him so much. But for her, it was safer to just tell him, I hate you, leave me alone, and then scream and break things or take Sharpie to the wall, as a little kid would do. Then that, of course, as you get older, that manifests in different ways. But for her to ultimately, we were talking, and ultimately it came down to conversation. I'm just sad I miss him so much. First, I was shocked that she was able to articulate that. But it was what we needed, and also with my husband, to say, listen, we need to do something about that. You can't, she does not have the capacity to understand when you tell her, but I'm always here for you and I love you. You need to show it to her. She tells you, leave me alone, go away. You don't say fine and you walk away. You're like, you know what? Yeah, but I'm just gonna sit here. I'll just be here with you, and slowly but surely it took a while, but she's like, you know what? I do like you. Can I give you a hug? And she would climb on his lap, Now again, not trying to compare
No,
you,
I know.
um, but there's so many layers, and there's so many different outlets, and there's so many different ways that we operate, because perhaps all you need is a punch bag in a corner of one of the rooms. You know, perhaps it's a set of china that you can just throw on the floor and let it out of your system. And it's like, okay, now I have the capacity to breathe. Now I have the capacity to think. Now I have the capacity to put it all down on paper, or even burn that piece of paper afterwards. You know, but there's just no right or wrong way. And I think we came to the point now, and we can totally skip the conversation, but I think we are in the point now when it's finally okay to be you. And it's finally okay to recognize that, you know what, I don't fit the mold that everybody has tried to squeeze me into. And perhaps if you look at our parents and their grandparents, and you can see generational patterns and how that has manifested in abuse or alcoholism or addiction, because there was this void that no one knew how to even address. There was no label for it. It was just like, oh, you're different, something's wrong with you, and we're going to ostracize you as opposed to help you. So I feel that now in the space where, first and foremost, we are wired differently than they were. Our kids are wired entirely differently on a whole different consciousness that we are. But it's finally like, you know what? I don't tick like everybody else. I am my own drummer. I don't play by those rules. I make my own. And I don't have all these labels. They don't fit me. And that is becoming to be okay. And in leadership, in business, and we're seeing this transition. And of course, there's going to be the pullback. There's going to be this ebb and flow of, oh, no, we have always done this that way. Of course, there's going to be powers that feel now threatened because they're at the brink of extinction. They're fighting back. You know, it's like, oh, no, this is not what we're going to do. And we're going to tighten the laws, and we're going to tighten the regulations, and we're going to take your freedoms away because we still need to stay in power. And no,
it's so beautiful when you're in on the layers, labels, like when you put in the like labels on our own forehead. It's like, this is because I'm or something like that. Like for me, why I get so angry was because I was like put in a box, like what people expect from me. I do like other people speak for me. I was like so much stuck in my own box. It was just me that just want to break out. And I find out I am a person with so much power. And for me, as my coach learned me, they also have like had angry issues or have so big power as me. He learned me, Tanya, you need to go out in the forest and scream and shout like all what you can, because you have so much energy in your body. So sometimes you need to like open your mouth and just get it out. And after you will feel a release. And that is like so true. And it's not fitting like in Denmark, the box in Denmark, like you need to be, you need to have a quiet voice that just going the same pattern, like, this, like I feel like I cannot breathe in that box because I have just so much in me. So there's just my body and my mind, little 5 years old me that was expressing myself. And I know it was not okay to do. I know all that. There's just me 5 years old that just need to be me and grown up. So I learned to 5 years old to, in very short period of time, who is Tanja? So I feel I was like totally naked. I was starting for 5 years old to find out who is me, what is my story. So that was like a totally naked experience for me to really contact with my 5 years old, because I was going on the ground and crying and shouting at my father and my mom. It was like, oh my God, what is happening in my body? Yeah. It was a crazy time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so important to really like what we talk about, to really truly find like who is you, like your what was the word you used in the beginning? Not legacy, but identity, like who is you, like identity, and take all the labels off and all that's on your skin, that's going on your whole past and your story and your father's story, your grandfather's story. You just on, and it's your duty to like take it off and find who are you behind all this layer.
Absolutely. And that is actually the work. You know, I was just talking to a business partner who also used to be an athlete. And we're talking about, are we working hard enough? You know, because the work that we do is just so easy. It's just so fun. And in 2.5 hours of being productive, we can accomplish more than what we used to when we worked our jobs for 8 hours. And it's like, oh, you clock in and you clock out. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to stare at my screen because I need to be here for 8 hours. But then on the other hand, you know, I was like, well, this is so easy, but are we working hard enough? And then it occurred to us, you know what? Yeah, because you know what's hard for us? What's hard work for us is actually allowing ourselves to slow down, allowing ourselves to be done with the day after 2.5 hours without judging ourselves, without shaming of, oh, you should have done more and you should have gone back to the inbox right now and send out another 15 emails because there's 30 of them on your list that you need to reach out today and you have to reach your quota. You know, that is hard work. Hard work for us is to be in stillness and allowing all the emotions to come up and be with each and every one of them, as opposed to sweeping them underneath the rug because they don't feel good. They're not good, you know. Hard work for us is allowing everything to be okay when the kids' schedule in school changes and all of a sudden our schedule goes through the window and every single thing you had planned for is like, oh, well, I guess we're not doing this today. And now I have to rearrange the whole week.
Like Seventa, what do you call Seventa? It's called Seventa. I cannot, it's so hard me to say the word. Seventa, like Seventa to the moment. It's like,
exactly. So, you know, everybody has different, everybody should have a different, ought to have, is allowed to have, not should, is allowed to have a different definition of what her even is. So if there's one thing I would invite you and your audience, when you come to a label, it's like, how do I redefine it? You know, what does it even mean to me? What kind of attachment I even have to it? None? All right, so off it goes.
And when it's like stuck in your feeling, you have like put energy in this label, in this box, and put it under your head, and like, if we experience feeling as is normal to experience feelings, we all have it. I believe we have every feeling, the same feeling, with our own like taste and color around the feeling, but we have the same feeling, like the label of the feeling. The value in the feeling is, of course, is different compared to our past story, and most of the feeling is just from the past that's coming in our like present, and it's our duty as a seed to see, okay, this is a feeling from our past. This is a new moment. It's a new time today. It's not the past to really see, okay, what is like, but also acknowledge the feelings that is coming in you, because when we push it on, like I'm sometimes do, push the feeling on because it's going too fast, my body is just shutting down and say, Tanja, you need to pay attention to this feeling, this moment, and I need to cry it and shout it to get in contact to it again, because I put it on, and sometimes I need to dig a little bit before it's coming up and get some air and be free again.
Exactly. And with the, you know, the practice of mindfulness will then allow you to see, it's almost like an escalator, right? And oftentimes you're only aware once it's just about to reach the top. So with the mindfulness, okay, what is the step before that? What is the step before that? You start to recognize what triggers that explosion in the first place. And then you start to recognize what leads up to you being triggered. And you start to recognize the patterns that oftentimes we actually put on ourselves. Because another very personal story, like cleaning the house used to do that for me. It was a full-blown explosion from the moment I picked up the vacuum. 10 minutes later, everybody was running out of the house. It's like, oh, mommy's in a mood again, huh? But for me, what happened was this blinder came on and my vision became a tunnel vision and everything went dark. And all the stories that come up were, see, you're the one who needs to pick it up again. And you keep asking everybody to put it away, and no one does it, and no one does it the way you're asking them to do it. And now you're going to do it, and they're going to be mad because you're going to throw things away after 35 times of asking them to put them somewhere else. And yeah, that's right. No one hears you. No one listens to you. No one sees you. And see the post that you shared on social media and you put your heart and soul into it and not one person liked it. Yeah, because you're so small, you're so insignificant. I mean, it was so ridiculous. And for a long time, was like, what the heck is happening? Do I just need a different vacuum? Is this one possessed with something, or what's going on? And then,
Need a new vacuum.
Exactly. And a whole cleaning crew, please, so I can just remove myself from the picture. But doing that, actually, somebody suggested, like, why don't you just have somebody else clean? I was like, yeah, but I think there's something there for me to just be with and work through. So yeah, I recognize the patterns, I recognize the triggers, I recognize the stories from many, many years ago. Some of them had nothing to do with actual cleaning or with me, but it all fit the agenda. And then it was like, oh, we have one spark here, let's make it more fun, let's spark it again here, and let's spark it here. And then I was in this mean mode. And then I would intentionally say something just to make my kids cry, just because I was miserable. They should be miserable too. But yeah, I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So then I started like, okay, what is the trigger? What is the escalator? I'm cleaning the house. Oh, I'm noticing this coming up. You know what? It's such a silly story. Let me be with it. Let me see where it even came from. Why is it here? And with this sense of levity, you know, literally like sitting down with a 5-year-old me, having some fun time, you know, and joking. And it was like, oh, you're so silly, you know, just like I was talking to my little kids, you know. Yeah, ultimately it came to the point, it was like, I just need to clean this up. And you know what, kids? Let's make it a game. Let's have fun with it, because we're going to do a teamwork thing and it's going to be fun. And they were like, what are you talking about? Cleaning is not fun. It's like, yeah, but remember how you feel when you actually walk in your room and you feel good because you know where things are, and you like it, you have space, and it fills you up with a positive energy, as opposed to such a mess here. And like, yeah, but I don't know how to make it happen. Okay, so then let's break it down, because where their overwhelm came in on top of mine was when I told them go clean. That was such a big thing for them. They could not even know where to begin. Put stuff away. What does that even mean? Put the stuff away. Where do I begin? Oh, does it mean I need to now take 15 trips up the stairs to take one item at a time? It's like, no, I don't know where to start. Okay, let's start with big things. Let's start with picking up the books. Now let's put the stuffies. Now let's make a pile for things that are going to go upstairs, and we're going to take them upstairs. Then we're going to make a pile, what goes to your room, what goes to yours. And then what goes to this drawer, what goes to that closet.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, like, to clean up in our room is also clean up in our brain with stuff that is like stuck. And when we start with so simple things as our home, we also cleaning up in our brain.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
You know, my two little ones, as all the siblings, are so opposite. One needs everything squared. She needs it clean. She needs it, but she doesn't always know how to do it for herself. The other one was like, no, I actually can't find anything when things are squared away. So it was, again, learning experience on my end to let them be who they are without judging them or shaming them or invading their spaces of, you know what, I'm going to clean up the mess for you because you're incompetent and you don't know how to do it. Because that just passes on the baton, you know, and the cycle continues and the legacy continues. So, okay, in my ego, now we're going to have a little chat here. Now I'm stepping outside of me and what I need, and into a mom who is not an owner of a child, but somebody who sees a child as a growth partner. How
Mm,
do we now empower the
beautiful.
child to do what she needs to feel exalted and to feel comfortable in her space and to feel supported, even though I might not like it?
Mm.
What does she need? So yeah,
So it's so beautiful to see, like, it's our growth part. I know this is your child, and I have two parents that's living close to me. This is what I do. So I see them as like a growth part. So if I have reaction on, like, what do I need to look at inside myself, because it's always something about ourselves. It's so beautiful. So the last thing, Sarah, before we are ending this talk, I'm just like, oh my God, just one, like, this juicy stuff. You have like so much knowledge. I mean, I just forget all the two questions. So I will just go straight to the end of this talk with, like, your freebie you give to the audience. So if you please share a little bit about it, 3 minutes, about your work and your freebie, so the audience know, like, what are you giving to them. And dear you that's seeing this video, please go back in your email. There is Sarah's freebie to you and her details. So please go back, and that's where you can find the freebie. So Sarah.
So for the audience, you know, if it's you and I talking, I don't know you. I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know what you need. So my invitation is simply to come in. You know, my website is one of the sacred spaces, and there's a lot of different resources there. In fact, there's one of the pages you'll find, it says Resources Hub. So you have trainings, you have videos, you have PDFs, you have access to experts in my network that I can connect you with if you need one. And the freebie that is available, it's simply a 28-minute video. And in that video, just like we had this conversation for the past hour or so, in those 28 minutes, what I actually do is sit down with you and just map out the 6 areas of life that I have found to be the pillars in my personal life, as well as those lives of my clients who came to me. And some of them came to me when they were at top of the success. They had everything going for them, but they felt exhausted. They felt empty. They felt like, you know, they just wanted to leave because it was just not the life they envisioned. Some of them were at top of their success. It's like, oh, this is awesome and I want more of it. It feels so good and I can give so much more. How can I do that? And some of them were just like, you know, we were talking about transitions, like, okay, great, I'm ready for something different. Where do I even start? So while seemingly those entry points are also so different, the 6 pillars are the ones that I firmly believe in, are the ones that allow us to create, and I don't like the word balance because everybody's balance again is different. But if you're a tripod trying to balance on 2 legs, it's not going to work. So if you are excelling in one area, but everything else is falling apart, it's not going to work. So the 6 pillars are your mindset, your life, your family, your business, and then the prisms of the mindset piece and the spiritual piece, and how you take those 6 baskets that seem to be so separated and actually connect them together, how they flow together, how they feed each other. Because through the years that I have been working with my clients as well as on my own, I am not the person who would say, oh, just automate this and we're going to do this to the mass market. I thrive in finding what ignites you, what is your genius, so what is the one thing or 2 things you were brought to this planet to do, and then help you simplify things, harmonize everything around it so that you can be in partnership, you can be in relationship with your kids and you have fun with it. When you come home after a long day, the 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. is not the framework of, oh shoot, now everything's gonna go to hell because the kids are hungry,
the husband came home, I'm here, I still have things to do, but it's like, this is going to be the most amazing time of the day. In business, you know, my clients have gotten hours back in their schedule, hours back of their free time, because we eliminated the in-between steps that are just a distraction. I can go on and on and on and on, but if that intrigues you, go check it out. It's absolutely free and it's 28 minutes in addition to all the other resources. And if you want to talk, if you want to chat, if you have questions, there's so many ways to connect with me via social media, via website. Reach out and we can chat.
Exactly. Sarah is there for you, to help you and serve you. And that's also why I choose Sarah, because she's giving from the heart. So thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so blessed in my life to have you here and give this message out through this Conquer the Mute Demon. And thank you so much for being who you are and being your voice for someone else, because someone else out there needs your voice today. So thank you so much.
And thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Here.
Thank you so much, Sarah.